Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Project Jupyter team meeting for Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017, our first of the new year. We took a break over the holiday and hope everyone had a good break. And it's good to be back. And let's go ahead and get started.
All right, it looks like, Brian, you're the first on the list. Governance updates?
Yeah, so I wanted to mention a few PRs that we have open on the governance repository. The oldest, is a draft of a trademark Min and I worked on a little bit last fall, and this is linked to in the hackpad. It's PR number 22 on the governance repo, and at this point there's not a lot to review. The current document is largely based on that of the Python Software Foundation, and I think our feeling at this point is that until we sit down and talk with an attorney on sort of the intricate details of it, this is probably more than sufficient. It brings us sort of up to the level of the PSF, but we'd love further comments on that, and we'd like to get that soon. As a result of some conversation with Fernando and also a paper that got written with SymPy, I've created a PR that describes a process that we can use for authoring Jupyter-related academic papers, and that's also a PR on the governance repo that's linked to there. I'll type a few more notes into the hackpad, but one point that I wanted to bring up is what level of involvement will be required of authors in the writing of the paper, the writing and the editing of the paper, to be an author. And one thing that really shaped my thinking about this is the process that SymPy used to write the paper. And basically what their model was is that to be an author on the paper, you needed to contribute to the actual work, and then you had to actually editing of the paper. And then the third is that you had to sign off and approve the final result and be willing to stand behind it. And the second one, that everyone was required to edit and author the paper, I think is the one where it's not quite clear. Originally, before participating in the SymPy paper, I would have said, whoa, that's maybe a bit much. But after seeing what it did to the participation level, it was spectacular, and it worked quite well for a large number of authors. I think the SymPy paper ended up with almost 30 authors, and they put a deadline on it, and so the paper got written with extremely quickly. If we wanted to have paper, I don't think that would work, and so if you have thoughts on that, please comment on the PR. And then the last PR we have open on the governance repo is our code of conduct, and we're wrapping that discussion up. That PR has been open for, I guess it's been open almost, looks like it was open November 11th. And so we're finishing that up. We're really excited about the work that a lot of people have put in terms of refining that document, and we're really pleased with that. So just wanted to mention those 3 PRs, and that's it. And
we can't hear you, Jenny.
You seem to be muted.
I'm here. Thanks. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm just easing back into work. I was away for the holidays on the East Coast, so today's my first day back in the office, been really online. So this week I'll be working on creating and curating a project management repo in GitHub, and that will pertain. I'm going to start experimenting with the GitHub projects functionality, so I'll have a high-level project management style schedule in there with the months of 2017. and some of our main like milestones that we'd like to hit. So it's going to be a complete experiment. So if you go in there and if it, it looks a little weird, it's going to be a work in progress probably for the next month, but you're welcome to take a peek when you see it. Let's see, next week we have a data carpentry reproducible research hackathon at BIDS. So a bunch of folks are coming together and we'll be developing a new data carpentry curriculum in the notebooks. And I'll report next week and the week after on how that goes. Did anybody want to mention the information about the code of conduct that's getting added to the governance section?
Brian did.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I added a few more notes about the code of conduct.
But Brian already talked about it.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Notebook. Grant, Matthias, Thomas, and Jason. Okay, we'll move on to Darian.
Yeah, not much so, but we're just picking up where we left off. Nothing new.
Okay, great. Looks like Sylvan, you guys have some information that you posted on IPyWidgets, but folks can reference the HackPad. So those who are watching this on YouTube, go ahead and check the HackPad for the most recent updates on IPyWidgets. Jupyter Hub, Min.
Yeah. So yesterday and today I put out a release of just a small release of Jupyter Hub and Docker Spawner, fixing a few things that people have reported and turned up with the bigger Jupyter Hub release a month ago. Yeah, not too much exciting there. And the NBDime, the folks at Simula worked on NBDime Beta, and Martin are working now more, getting to work on some of the NBVal stuff that Southampton has done for testing notebooks and figuring out what needs help there and putting our effort towards that.
All right. Thanks, Min. Mike, I see you're furiously typing. Would you like to try talking?
No fury.
No, okay. The fury of 2016.
But I'm happy to talk. So not too much has happened, but there is a conversation going on with the author of, or the maintainer of NB Sphinx right now, which does notebook conversion in documentation so that you can have direct notebooks in your documentation. He's not a fan of the Jupyter prefix that we decided on at the dev meeting. I realize this is somewhat technical, but I've mentioned people, but that hasn't actually gotten too much in the way of people chiming in. So I don't know when we should all talk about that, but if there wasn't much of a conversation originally, it was mostly just Jason, Brian, and I just saying, oh, okay, the not messing with user namespace is better. So I wasn't sure if anyone else had thoughts about the trade-offs there. And if you want to chime in, I've linked to the PR, or not the PR, the issue on NB Sphinx. There are other issues. If you want to more generally talk about this, I can also post the links to them.
And can you, just for the sake of having a record, can you describe a bit more about the Jupyter prefix, sort of what?
Oh, this is the 4 tags on cells in notebooks. We can, so first of all, they're just strings, like a list of strings that you have in a cell, in the cell's metadata. And so they have no value attached to them. And one of the problems with that is that now, if your string is just something like hide input, which was one of the examples that we had been looking to use for NB convert output, if you wanted to just hide the input of this cell in the output format, you would include that in your metadata. There still needs to be a discussion about how we want to do the UI for this. But in terms of the data representation itself, if we want to have first-party supported tags rather than going into user namespace, which it historically has been since we haven't used it at all, the thought was don't pollute their namespace, put a prefix on whatever tag you want, Jupyter : and that's about it. And it was more generally suggested as a way to, for any extension, to have a blah : prefix. So not just us.
So already we have a top-level tags attribute?
So this is a feature that is supposed to be applied to the strings placed under tags.
Convention for what we call tags that are official.
Exactly.
With an official interpretation.
Okay. Sorry. So it's not a namespace in the structure of the metadata. It's a pseudo namespace in the string of the tags. Got it. Yep.
Yes.
No, I totally. Yeah. Part of this is refreshing my memory, but also part of it is wanting to have a clean record for the internet of sort of what we're thinking about here. Yes.
Sounds good.
But it wouldn't change the tags list structure, so it's not a notebook format change. It's just a question of how we as Jupyter decide to use the tags list. And I do think that's a good idea, to have prefixes there. Yeah. But yes.
Okay. Does anyone else have opinions as well? Because I'm on board with that, and I know Jason was on board with that, but then no one else expressed anything, and then this is the first dissension we had because we also have to have third-party people who support our conventions support this as well. So that's why NB Sphinx is weighing in.
Yeah.
They need to adhere to this.
And it looks like some of the discussion there
This is just the only open issue left on that issue. There were many things discussed.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Just dropping the link to that. Is that in the Jupyter repo or in Jupyter org?
Most of the conversation happened on NB Sphinx, but I already put a link in the hackpad.
Okay.
We actually use NB Sphinx for the IPy widgets documentation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering whether you guys thought that NB Sphinx should be elected to be part of Jupyter.
I'd been thinking about this, but wasn't sure if it was kosher to do stuff like that. I didn't want us to start encroaching on other people's projects, but it would seem appropriate to me, and has for a while.
I mean, we can ask the maintainer if he's interested in that, but we definitely don't need. It's certainly not something that needs to happen, but we can offer.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess the thing that I would say is, we can offer it and tell them if this would help you out. Like, we're open to that, open to discussing that. It may get more maintainers. It may help the visibility of it. If it's good, consider. But
it certainly doesn't need to be.
Right.
Not everything Jupyter related should be on the Jupyter org.
I'm just asking. I was wondering.
It just seems like a bit of core infrastructure, though. That's why I agree with you, Savan. In this particular case, not everything Jupyter, of course. So then, should I just open an issue, or should I email them, or the community, or how does this? What is the process for doing this?
We need to open a PR to define the process first. Oh, no.
There's no problem. It's just
what have I
asking if
done?
it's interested is the only thing you need to do right now.
Sorry, I missed that one.
Oh, Min.
That's good.
Just yeah, just asking. I think is all that needs to happen now.
A giant fan process, but there is a process to find for integrating projects.
Your sound's kind of wonky. We're not getting great.
No, Pete is a robot. I could speak about something that Peter may be talking about, depending on if he's talking about the thing he's talking to me in chat about.
Can you hear me?
No, you sound like a robot.
You can't talk anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
Your words will be wasted.
He could DM. Oh no, Peter's going to talk about something else entirely. I guess we'll wait. There's going to be. I think Peter will post something in the security mailing list. It's totally separate, but it's public, so I thought it would be fine. Anyways, Peter's going to mention something in the Gigabyte. I'll wait.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better.
Yes. Hi, Peter.
Technology's awesome. Sorry. Now we're totally off on a tangent. I was going to say, not that I'm a giant fan of process, but when we set up the Jupyter incubator process, there was a section in there about just onboarding other projects that want to be integrated into the Jupyter ecosystem. So yeah, I think we already have a process if there's interest. I still agree, like, I doubt if there's any interest, but there is something written down.
Well, thanks for mentioning that.
Thank you.
So Mike, you'll check that out and work with Min.
Sounds good.
All right. So I have Matthias next on the list. He's not on the call.
He is sick.
I think that's from last week. I would appreciate.
Oh no, I talked to him this morning.
Oh, okay. All right. Too much French cheese. All right. Could be true. So next we have a design, and with Brian in parentheses. Did you have anything you wanted to share this week, Brian, on the design front?
No, not really.
Okay, great. Thomas isn't here today, so we won't have an update on the paper hopefully next week. And Pete, services.
Yeah, so I think the only thing worth mentioning there is the Docker Stacks images have all been updated to work with Notebook 4.3, and as a change of default, they're now secure by default, meaning the token auth is enabled from Notebook 4.3. Min and I, Min did a very quick review and merged it, but I think it's the right way to go, making sure these images come up with some kind of authentication configured. But it does mean the expected default that people have been using all along has changed, but we've documented all along saying if you really want to stick to a version of one of these Docker images, make sure you're using one of the tag releases. Don't just track latest. So just an FYI for anyone that's listening or cares. That's it.
All right. I'm sure there are some folks out there who appreciate that. I certainly do. So great. Okay, we have a blog on here. That's from our last meeting. Does anybody here have anything they want to mention on the blog? All right, I'm going to delete that.
At some point I wanted to do a post, or at some point soon I wanted to do a post about the NB Convert 5.0 and looking forward to the future. I'd talked about this with Min and Matthias, and I just haven't focused on writing that yet.
Okay, could you add that note to the notes?
Happy to.
Okay, great, thank you. Hey guys, we're at the end of our written notes here. Is there any ad hoc stuff that y'all wanted to add and share with the internet?
Yeah, I have one other thing. So we're trying to put out a monthly Jupyter newsletter, and Anna is heading that up. She's not here today, or at least I don't think I saw her.
No, nope, she's not on the call.
And we're always looking for good ideas for the newsletter. And while Anna puts it together, in general, she's not responsible for sort of generating the ideas and the content solely herself. And so if you have ideas, they can really come from a wide range of topics related to the project. Please get in contact with Anna. or we have an actual Jupyter newsletter repository that you can submit ideas to. And so please, everyone, both the core team and the broader internet, give us ideas about newsletter topics. So thanks.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Anyone else? Okay. If that's all we have for today, I know a lot of us have been on vacation, so next week we'll probably have more to report. I want to thank everyone for joining the call, and thanks everyone on the internet. We'll catch you next week.